Hey, my name is Brian, and I'm going to do my best to give a honest review of a car that I purchased. It is a Infiniti, and I have not owned an Infiniti before, but I've owned a few Nissans. This is the Infiniti Q50, which has been produced for many years, but this is the Signature Edition. So if someone wants to find out some more information from an actual user on the Signature Edition series, which is I think only a couple of months old now, or released a couple of months ago, then this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to talk about the car in some details after owning it, so you can figure out if you want to purchase one, and go over some of the things I really like, which are a lot, and then some of the things which could be improved on. So with that said, we're going to get on with the video. Starting out, I feel that this is an awesome car. Like I mentioned, I've came from two Nissan Frontiers SVs, pretty much fully loaded, minus the leather interior and the upgraded stereo, but pretty much everything else, and they were great vehicles. So I kind of wanted to get another Nissan, but the Nissan dealership wasn't really trying to help me to get in another one of their newer car, or their 19 model car. So I kind of just left the dealership, and then was thinking for a couple of days, and was like, man, I need to check out Infiniti. I don't know much about them. I know I've seen them. I know their quality, and they're a more luxury end car, but maybe I should swing by there, and I did. And believe it or not, Sewell was a good dealership, and they seemed to want to get me in one of their cars. So I was offered the opportunity, and I took it. So with that said, this is the Signature Edition, and it's the Q50. So I'm going to go over again a lot of the little cool things, and some of the things that you won't get in this edition. From my understanding, this car was developed to try to make an affordable package for people to purchase or lease, and so it has many of the features, many of the sport model features. It has the sport looking exterior, and it's very comfortable, and it is very luxurious. I'm coming from, before the Nissans that I had a Ford Focus ST. It was either a 13 or a 14. I think it was a 13, and it was the full end ST3 or S3 something, S model 3, but it was the fully loaded version, and I'll show a picture of that and some other pictures. But this is a quality car. It has, just to start out with the interior, it has this version of the Signature Edition has the actual leather. I guess Infiniti produces a synthetic leather and a actual leather, so it's beneficial and cool that this car actually gets the leather version of the interior package, and there is a lot of leather soft touch, I think is what they call it, around in the car. There is some plastic, there are some kind of stainless finishes, or a satin satin finish. Let me get that correct. I'm very happy with it. It drives exceptionally well. It's pretty quick for the twin turbo version that comes standard in this model. And let me change lanes. It is a like I said, quick car, and you can tune all the different parameters with the if you hit this button right here, you can choose personal, snow, standard, eco, or snow, which changes the steering and changes the throttle performance and the shifting, and so it makes it either more economical on gas with its ECU programming, or makes it faster. Also too, it changes the steering, since this is electric steering, in which I need to mention I love this steering because when you're going slow, it's assisted, and it becomes very easy in my trucks and some of my other cars. It's a dual, sometimes dual to turn the steering wheel, where this gets easier at lower speeds and firms up at higher speeds, and it's really nice. I can really appreciate that feature. I don't see any shortcomings of it. You know, I haven't gone 160 miles per hour, but and felt the steering at that, you know, at that point just yet. But I'm liking it. For those wondering about the interior noise, the interior noise is one of the quietest that I've experienced in my ownership, and I've owned a variety of different cars. I haven't owned any, you know, super high-end BMWs or Lexuses to compare that to, which I'm sure they are high, but you know, for the type of money that I make, and you know, the type of cars that I can afford realistically, you know, in the $40,000, you know, under $50,000 range, I think this is an exceptional noise level on the interior. Now, I don't know if that has, you know, what to do with the tire choices, but I know that noise does have a lot to do. Tires do have a lot to do with the choice, you know, the noise levels. I'm not particularly, you know, excited about the run flat tires on this vehicle. You know, in a real world, you know, you get a flat and you don't want to pull over and change it. That's great, but I think you get more feedback from the bumps with that tire, and a little less performance. So I see that kind of a little bit as a disadvantage with the tires that are on these. I guess all of them are coming with the run flat tires. I would like to upgrade here shortly to some much stickier, than their summer tires, it says, but I would definitely like to upgrade to a stickier version that's not run flat, that will give me a little more performance as far as turning and, you know, starting off from a dig. So that probably will be something that I will add here in the future, you know, as time goes on, and I kind of let these tires, I'll just keep these as extra and turn them in when I'm done with the car with, you know, pretty much new tires. With this car, you do get your push button start, and here is the key. You are required to lock this car from the outside when you're walking up, and then you push and hold the start button here, or the remote start button, for 10 seconds, and the car will fire up. One thing that kind of is a negative for me is once you get in the car, and it may be just that I'm not used to it, none of my vehicles have had the remote start, is that you've got to get in, instead of putting it, put your foot on the brake and putting it in drive or reverse and going. That'll kill the engine. You've got to put your foot on the brake and come in once the engine's running and hit the start stop button, and then it recognizes that you're sitting in the car with the key. It's a theft, you know, as it was explained to me, a theft deterrent, so someone can't jump in your car and take off once you've remote started it from maybe inside your house. So you've got to put the brake on, and then you've got to hit the button again before you put it in the drive, or it kills the motor. So that's a little bit of an inconvenience or a shortcoming for me, as I usually get in it, put my foot on the brake, put it in reverse, and it kills the motor. But other than that, you've got your dash here, and you've got multiple ways to deal with the two screens here. You've got steering wheel controls, and then you have your control right here on the center console, which just turns and moves in 360-degree direction, and then you can touch the screens. I am basically you know, the guy that touches the screens to, you know, most of the time to make it happen. Or choose the selections that I want. And you've got some selections right here, that audio, menu, and your climate are the main ones that I control. So there's a variety of different ways to change things and manipulate things. But here in the center screen, I've got you've got some choices too. I really like the tire pressure. Let me see if I can scoot down a little bit and get closer to that. The tire pressure choice, or the tire pressure PSI readings, are very important to me, and I like those. You know, I take trips all the time, and I'm one to keep an eye on my tire pressure from, you know, past experiences. You know, you get in, you can see it right away to monitor the best pressure. Also too, you got a service oil, you know, that shows you how many miles you have to go. That's nothing new. No warnings, so I guess if you have some internal engine warnings, or the car has some warnings, it'll tell you what's happening. And then you have your range, if you fill it up, how much you have to E. And then you got a speedometer, which I guess previous models didn't have, where it would show your current mile per hour, other than the analog right there. So that shows you how fast you're going in a digital readout. And then you've got, let me see here, you also have your trip distance and time that you've driven, and fuel economy, which also in the menu here you have a whole fuel economy that you can keep track of. And then it shows your what source on the radio you're playing, and then I guess it tells you your tunes too as well. And then your driving aids. For this model, Signature Edition, it only comes with the front radar driving aid. And so my car has alerted me if I'm not slowing down on the highway and I come up, or someone's getting off the highway and I'm behind them and I get a little closer than the car thinks I should be, it'll beep at me. It hasn't forcefully braked on me yet, which hopefully, you know, we don't have to encounter that anytime soon. But so that's the aid that it has, versus the rear cross monitoring or any other in the mirrors where you get the lights blinking if someone's behind you and you can't see them. It does not have that feature too. So it only has the front braking assistance warning aid. So that's important to know. Again, back to tire pressure. Other than that, this version of this car does not come with the electronic telescoping, adjusting steering wheel. It's done by a manual control right down here on the bottom, and you can raise it up and lower it down and pull it in and out to a degree. That's one of the differences between a higher end model and this Signature Edition. Also too, while I'm thinking about that, it does come with the auto lights, and it does come with the auto wipers. Let's see, actually, yeah, the auto wipers. So it'll sense the rain, which recently I've experienced, and it's actually really cool. So, and it works pretty well. Other than that, we've got our screens over here. I like both of the screens. People complain and say they don't like that. I don't know why, but for me, I am a fan of the dual screens. Here you can go from your climate control, you got your steering and your heated of your seats and your AC, and you can go to your audio, which I tune in a lot, and you've got your FM, your different AM satellite radio, your disc, your iPod, your Bluetooth, which I run for my phone, for Bluetooth, for listening to music stations, and receiving text and talking on your phone through the car stereo system. It doesn't have the Apple iPod Android Auto, not Apple iPod, but the Apple and the Android Auto system, which I guess in a perfect world, it'd be nice to have, but my phone, I don't revolve around my phone and need constant access, through my phone. So I'm not one that even spends $500, $600, $700, $800 on a phone. I have, high quality phones for a couple $100, and I'm just happy with that, if not under that. I don't need a $800 phone. So with that said, you've got your audio. You can go back to your menu, and You know, most of the time you're using your settings for adjustments, you know, with Bluetooth vehicle audio, screen, adjust, everything you need right there. And then you click over and you've got some more, always got some more menus to look at. And then your climate, like I go back to, and then your main menu, and again, audio. And it's pretty responsive, pretty quick. Up here, you've got a button that you can hit, and it'll choose your audio source, and you can custom set these and how you want them. And I haven't quite done that just yet. Here you can always click this button over here in the corner, and it takes you to your radio settings. And then you know, hit this button and it'll take you to, you can edit the users and assign them to keys. One disadvantage I think that this Signature Edition offers that that I wish it did, and obviously it'd be more money, would be the electronic adjusting suspension, and even more importantly is the upgrade to the stereo. With this model, you don't get the Bose 16 speakers. This audio system doesn't sound poor. It sounds quite good for what it is, but you don't get the center channel up here, and you don't get more of the speakers, so you don't quite get that surrounding sound, you know, the filling of the cabin. And you know, maybe if that Bose comes with a subwoofer, this car could use a small subwoofer just to add some bass, and you know, and maybe a little bit more mid. So you know, and then you can't add that without going into the car and pulling the stereo out and tapping in the speakers. So I think it's kind of a shortcoming to not get the stereo, the Bose or whatever, you know, these higher end stereos that these manufacturers offer, because you really got to tear into the car and to add more speakers, and I'm just not a fan of taking apart your brand new car to do that. I've done it before, and everything never goes back exactly the way it is, and you've got to tear off the plastic inside the door panels, and that takes away some of the weathering that this has, and I don't want to disturb the insulation that keeps this car as quiet in the interior as it is. But yeah, and so you've got your dual heated seats right here. One thing that the Signature Edition, they did include on this vehicle, which I wouldn't have bought the car if it didn't have this, was the 360-degree camera, which you can access that. You can access that right here, and that's a button right here. And so when you click that, it shows you different views, and when you click that again, it'll show you a side view of this mirror, because you don't need, because you can see clearly right down through here. And then when you click it again, it'll show you a full front view, a wider view of the what's in front of the car from the bumper, so you can avoid pulling up to things too closely and scratching your front lower valance on your car. And then you click it again, and it will take you back to, so you've got back to, oh, and here's the 360 view. So this is so helpful. I mean, I go to parking garages a lot, and pulling in to you know, parking spaces, backing in. This allows you, you know, with the white lines, you can get exactly space between two different cars without you know, I do have difficulties doing that otherwise sometimes, and it'll show you how far away you are from each car, and then how close you are in the front and the rear. And then it's got a parking sensor mode, so if there's cones, or maybe when you're backing up, when you go into reverse, then it changes to the backup camera, and it actually has that sensor, or that ability to change direction to show where your car's headed. So and then it always tells you rear or your front camera. It's hugely beneficial, and this car package does have that, so that is a big bonus. So when you pull up, you can see like these concrete columns that you could end up, you know, bumping with the front of your car. So that is really a beneficial thing. Also too, it comes with the full sunroof, which I'm not necessarily a have-to-have person, but I do like it. You know, if it's equipped with the car, one touch open in the back, which I use a lot to just give me fresh air, and then just push it forward, push it back, and then one touch it'll open up. So other than that, pretty cool. I'll take it, I guess, if it comes with a car. I'm not going to pay $1,000 extra if I didn't need it. I mean, didn't have to have it. But just also lets in 2 extra heat if you run that open. So on hot days, it's definitely closed. All LED lights in the car. The shortcoming of that is it's not very bright, and with this all black interior, it does get really dark in here, and the car would benefit from more lighting. These are actually pretty small little LED lights, and spaces like down here with buttons that aren't lit up. This is one of my negatives with this car, that when it's at night, a lot of these buttons do not show up, so you're just feeling kind of blind. There's no little light to guide your hand to, you know, the trunk or the traction control, or I would like Infiniti to actually, you know, put some little lights and make these buttons where they light up, you know, of some sort. You know, you've got some buttons with some lights here, but that's a shortcoming of the car. Another beneficial thing that this car does is the air conditioner. It works phenomenally well. It's probably one of the best air conditioners I've ever had. When I get in this car, I mean, it will freeze you out, and it's a fully auto system to get that to turn on and operate. But like I said, if you're like your car really cold, this car will not disappoint. It gets, I mean, I usually have to run this at 75 degrees so that I don't freeze out, or turn the fan way down, take it off auto, and you can control the speed all right here from the control. Let's see here. Like I said, you've got 3 ways to control. You can touch screen or use this button to navigate through everything, change your view, and then you just click it to have it pick that function, or you've got some controls on the steering wheel here. It does have power mirrors, and they are, I can't say that they're heated, but the power mirrors, and all the windows are auto up and auto down. If the next car that I bought, if it didn't have that feature, I probably wouldn't have bought it either. I had to have the auto up, auto down. Most of my cars just have the driver auto up and auto down, which is a major disappointment, or they just have auto down. So this car comes with that function, so that is a huge benefit. Let's see what else there is. Also too, which is kind of strange place to put it, that most people don't know about, is this button right here, and you got to hold that down. Let me see if I can get that in there so you can see that better. This button, if you hold that down, you can change the lighting, the ambient lighting in the car from bright, you know, change the brightness, I think just full bright to a dimmer setting, and that's right here in the glove box. You've got your outlet there, and you've got your USB plug-in, and this is probably an auxiliary for something. I really wish that you could plug a lead to a powered subwoofer in there and run the wire down and out the bottom and have a powered subwoofer under the seat or something, but there's not much room under there to do that, so to add some bass to the car. Other than that, you know, one other thing is that I haven't had before is this setting that you can tune your garage door opener to open and close, and you've got 3 of those, and it is a self-dimming mirror, so you do get that feature, and you can turn that on or off. Sunglass holder, you know, to turn on your lights at night here in the interior. Obviously, you know, just a really clean car, an amazing value for what they are selling these for, and for leases that you can get on them for, you know, under $450 a month. So a phenomenal package, and I just thought that I would talk about the car. And another really cool thing that I am really enjoying in these seats, these fully leather seats, and they're heated, they're not cooled, is that you get this this manual extension right here, and on long trips, I mean, that's awesome. I love how that feels the only thing is, this not being an automatic a steering column, is that it doesn't raise when you shut the car off and get in and out. So I like to run my steering wheel a little lower so I can see my gauges. I'm 6 foot tall, and so when I get in and out of the car, I always hit the steering wheel right about there, and so you gotta squeeze in under the steering wheel. It would be a benefit if this was a flat bottom steering wheel, but other than that, that's one of the things, you know, I mentioned that you don't get. And another thing you don't get is the automatic fold-in mirrors. I don't even know if that's offered on this vehicle, but it would be pretty cool to have that feature in this, but not a deal ender. The things that I would add to this vehicle to make it the perfect Signature Edition would be the upgrade in the stereo and the suspension that adjusts to you know, from firm to a softer setting, you know, more of city versus more performance. And also too, you have your driver's mode right here that you can easily hit up, and you can choose quickly sport, standard, eco, or snow. I'm just basically, you know, with a sport or the standard or the eco, depending on, you know, if I'm driving on the highway and how I want the car to shift. Performance wise, I think it changes the steering a little bit, firms it up, or you know, extends the gear ratio out a little bit more, and gives you a, you know, versus a little better gas mileage versus not so good at gas mileage. Also too, one thing that people might be interested to know is that this does not come with paddle shifters, and I am not a big fan of having those paddle shifters there, because being a performance-oriented guy when I was younger, when you put this into drive and you move it over into the manual mode, that's basically to get it in the right gear. If you're doing, you know, from a 30 or a 40 or a 50 or whatever, you know, starting point you want to take off, if you're running it against another car to see how the performance is, and then once you get this right gear and you give it the gas, then you immediately put it over into drive. And you know, and I've driven a lot of stick shift cars, so it's easier, and it makes more sense to me to have a hand on this to control the upshifts and the downshifts, rather. I just, you know, maybe it's just something I'm not used to, than clicking up or down on the steering wheel. So, and again, it's on the display, it shows you sport and which mode you're in, so, and then shows you what gear you're in. So another nice feature. Let me see what else there is. One thing I wish it did have was a removable liner down here. Whenever you put your drinks into the cup holder, you always get residue, sticky, seems like some residue down under there, and there's no way to pull this out to easily get to, and to get a cloth in there to clean. So you're kind of hindered to clean that out, because this is not removable as far as I know or I'm aware. Lots of leather throughout the car. Everything's kind of soft touch. This is a little more firm, but you can tell it's a leather surface, and it's soft touch on the doors with either a plastic that's made to look like metal. Nice touch. That could be aluminum, not real sure. Highly likely that it is. Let's see what else there is to talk about. Adjustable up and down on the seat belts. Put those in. This one has a cool feature that you can adjust the bolstering right there to firm that up. Fully electric on the seats. Make sure my car's not going to take off. So you do have, this is something that I installed right here, and which could be a negative that I would ding the car, is that this is plastic, and when you get in and out, this gets scuffed up like crazy. So in the meantime, I added a little bit of material that I had laying around, and I used spray glue on the material to get it to stick right here, because your shoe goes across this and it puts marks, you know, marks that you can't get out into this material. So I wish car manufacturers would put something a little more durable here, because that's just something that drives me nuts. So I put that there, and that probably won't last long. but that's what I did. So there's your side bolstering, fully adjustable seat. The other one is power too. It just doesn't have the bolstering and the and for your lower back right there too. You can add that from right here, adjust that too as well. All right, now looking at the exterior of the car. It does come with the twin turbo 3.0 engine, and one thing that I found that I really liked off the dealership floor, I don't know if this was one of the first that the Sewell dealership got, but it had the 19-inch chrome black wheels, which I just fell in love with. They're 19-inch, and they you know, it just caught my attention. Also too, the car comes with the rear or the front and the rear addition of like the sport models that keep rocks off the side of the car, and you get the sport front end. You get the sport front end on this car, which was a necessity for me to have a little bit more sporty look. My car, you know, this version, I don't know if it comes with it, but mine did for what I paid. It came with the Infinity pinstriping, which seems to be painted on there, and then it's under the clear coat. So I saw that as a very beneficial addition there. Also too, one thing that my car came with, and I don't know if this is with all of them, is the benefit of the protection for the front hood and the front top of the panel right here. It has the vinyl protection on it. The one disappointment in that, I thought that was a huge benefit, but they should have put that on the front of the car and put that on the headlights. And even because this chrome right here on the front, the plastic that's plated with the shiny chrome-like finish on it, that's going to get rock chips on it, and from road debris, and some protection on the lens for the LED. The whole front end is all the lights in this car are LEDs. A downside that I mentioned, I think, are the run flat tires. I just don't think they're compared to you know, the non-run flat versions as far as smoothness and ride quality. So I think that's a ding on this car. Another thing that here in at least Texas, they charge you for the locking wheel nut package, and I've looked at, you know, 20 or 30 cars from different dealerships, and they always charge you in a package that costs about $500 that includes the locking wheel nut. So that was on this version that I purchased, so I always take that as you know, as I got that included. Sensors all around the car, but it doesn't detect the cross path in the rear, but other than that, LED car's a phenomenal package. Let's just do a walk around the front. Sensors for the front end. Also too, from the dealership floor, which I thought was a benefit, is some of the cars come with tinted windows, and they usually put the crummy tint on there to cut costs, but this actually comes with the Lumar window tint, and Lumar is a top brand, top name brand as far as window tint, as far as I'm concerned. So this actually comes with a high quality tint. It'd be really cool if that was ceramic tint, and it could be, but Lumar tint, top quality brand name. And again, I bought my car from Sewell dealership here in Dallas, and I had a pretty awesome experience with them. They were really helpful, and they wanted to get me in one of their cars besides Nissan when I tried to get in a Maxima or an Altima, and they just didn't want a deal. But you also get the colored rear valance. I guess it's updated for 2018 and 19, and the dual tip exhaust, you know. one thing that I find, you know, with the car manufacturers that put the 4 tips and only 2 of them work, because after time you only see the brown or the darkened out of one side of each exhaust, and that's just that blows my mind. You know, it's just like putting performance things on there that don't actually function. And under here you've got your camera, and then here, when you have your key in your pocket, you can the car recognizes you coming up, and you can push right here. The downside is that that's what it does when you come up with your key and you click your key to open the trunk. It just goes boop and it stops. It doesn't actually open up for the rest of the way. So if you have your hands full, then that's a negative. So here you've got you know, you can get through to access to your car from the interior, and you can lock that too. So if someone gets access to your trunk and they want to climb into your car, they can't do that. No tire under here because it has run flat tires, so no spare tire. And you can pop your seats by pulling these levers right here. But yeah, it's kind of a disadvantage that when you pop it, it doesn't open. The 2019 Signature Edition Infiniti Q50. I'm thoroughly happy with it. It drives wonderful. It's low noise in the interior. It feels very luxurious. The seats are very comfortable. It's got a very sporty ride. It's very quick. You know, later on, you know, if you want to add more horsepower, there's a couple of variations to do that, like AMS. You can get a simple tune and make this up to a red sport and add another 100 horsepower, and so you're up to 400 horsepower and something like 450 pounds of torque, which is pretty phenomenal for a vehicle like this. Yeah, so, you know, if someone's looking at, you know, possibly buying this car, I would say it's a great value, and to go ahead and do it. It's got all your LED, all the modern things. The only thing that I don't see as a shortcoming that people are, you know, complaining about, because you got to find something to complain about, is that it doesn't have the Android Auto and the iPhone ability to, you know, plug your phone in and use your screen as your phone. So other than that, that's, you know, a Nissan or Infiniti should have had that. It doesn't really matter to me because that's not a big selling feature for me. Also, you know, you've got your unlock where it'll recognize your hand if you have the key in your pocket and you lock it here instead of having to use your key to do that. The car and all its functions will recognize that you have the key in your pocket or on you. So I put from the dealership, because it is a nice key, and I tend to potentially drop my keys from time to time as I fumble around. I put a rubber little case on it from the dealership that to put on the key, so when you drop it, you don't scratch up your key as you kick it across the concrete. You know, I think that was just a beneficial, you know, $6, and it just slides on. And it's rubberized, and it doesn't add much diameter or anything to the key, not a downfall. So when I drop my keys don't get all marred up. But yeah, so you know, as long as you have this key, all the car systems recognize this key. So with that said, you know, I'm going to end the video, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And if you like my content, you know, the variation of things I cover, from mountain bikes to guns to chainsaws to cars, you know, rifles, ammunition, pretty much off the wall stuff, then I would you know, encourage you to subscribe to me, or you know, the other features that YouTube offers. So other than that, have a great day.